Welcome to Andy's Garage. I'm Andy Phillips. Today we're back in the garage working on the Countach project after a long break. Not a lot to do, but just want to work on these tail lights here. So let's go ahead and get started. So what I have here is, if you've been following any of the progress with this project, I made these rear tail light panels. They're pretty much to scale and right placement of the original Countach. However, the replica underneath, the lights were kind of cut more around in here, so they were smaller. So even though I've gone ahead and added these, the lights don't line up exactly where they need to be. Go ahead and take a look. I'm going to go ahead and do the left turn signal first. And you can see there how it's off on the far left because it's not going all the way over. Next is the brake. That one's pretty good because it's in the middle, so that one's pretty much lining up pretty decent. But let's go ahead and do the reverse light. And you'll see that one's also slightly off. So you can see the left and right need to be widened so that way they align properly with the Countach lenses, which are scaled out wider than what we have here. So what we're going to do today, we're going to go ahead and cut the body to line it up properly, and then we're going to get the actual bulb housings and stretch that accordingly so that way each section matches up with the proper lens, so that way it's not cutting it short. And then I'll pretty much wrap up this time here in the garage. I do need to work on the front parking lights, but that'll be for another project, and then at that point then we're starting paint. These are the last two pieces left before we actually get into painting this thing. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and then that'll call it a day. Now looking at it here, I went ahead and I made these lenses that go around here, the reflective piece, just because I didn't feel like spending the outrageous price that the real Lamborghini parts are. So I just went ahead and just got them and made them out of polycarbonate and then added the reflective piece there on the back. But if you look close, you'll see it's a little bit uneven. Once the car is painted and I'm detailing it, these are going to be reshaped a little bit better because I just kind of cut the basic jagged template out. So then I'm going to go ahead and actually cut it more to fit to the contours of the body a little bit better when we get it in place. Also, these Phillips screws right here, these things are just regular wood screws that I threw in there just to hold it on. They'll actually be the countersunk all black screws, just like the real ones that are tucked in there. So it'll be, be nice and pretty and all that'll be good. So I went ahead and did that. Also have a little spot right here, not to deviate from what the goal is for this video, but also tested a little bit of the paint. If you've been following this, I had mentioned in a previous video that we're going to go with the premium automotive metallic silver for this to match the older Countachs that had the burgundy and gray leather, which I have in this one here. So it's going to be metallic silver. So I just hit it with a little bit. I'll get a close-up. You can kind of see how it's looking. It's actually looking pretty decent, but obviously when we do the final thing, it'll be sanded smooth. We'll give several nice coats of it, and then we'll do the clear coat hardener. So this was just hitting it with a little bit of the color to see how it would look. Go ahead and take a look at that, and then we'll be back to start taking these off and modifying what we need to. There's the primer white, and then here's the silver. Can't really tell too well just because the primer wasn't even sanded down or anything. I was just doing a test run on it. Let's see if I can get a better shot where you can see it, but it actually has a nice shimmer to it. Now once it's actually done, obviously it's going to be prepped properly, many coats put on, sanded in between nice and smooth, and then we'll go ahead and hit it with the clear coat and hardener that I'm going to be using. But this just kind of gives a little bit of an idea on how it's going to look. You can see that. So that'll be exciting with all the black accents going around the body and the vents and all that. It'll look pretty cool. If I put my hand up against it, you can see the shine right there, a little bit of the mirror. Still have the orange peel finish because it hasn't been prepped or clear coated like I mentioned, but you can see already how much shinier it is than obviously here on the primer, which is nothing because it's just that dull matte, but there it is right there, you can see it. And now that we can see where the bulbs are, if we hold that lens up to it, you can see what we're dealing with. So this is how it would be in here. So if we just bring it down to here, that's what needs to move. This needs to come further this way. This one actually does need to move a little bit. It needs to be moved a little more to the center, which will then push this one further out to right there to center it here. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to pop these out. We're going to widen the body. Go ahead and cut that out. It's actually pretty thick, but we'll have to cut that out. And then we're going to modify these, cut this here, and then put some little extension pieces in there and use some chemical weld for plastic, some JB weld to secure all that, and then we'll be good to go. To then put these in place and wrap up this time. I went ahead, measured out here where it needs to be cut. So next I need to take the Lamborghini and the Countach emblems off. Come down here, you can see that one's already prepped as well too. So let's go ahead and take these off because they're not permanently in there yet. That'll be put in once it's painted, so they don't have the studs on the back, so they'll fall off. Let's go ahead and take them off. Now the Bull and the S, they can stay put because they're actually bolted through. And what I'm going to use now is this oscillating power tool. And then we'll go ahead and cut out those areas. Pull this out. And got to be careful we don't hit any of these wires. But you'll see here we have the screw mounts. So once I cut this out, I'm going to just cut these little pieces here and just slide them back so we still have the mounting pieces to screw into. So let's go ahead and get these cut. Went ahead and cut this one out, and if we put it up to it, you can see there. And if we put the lens, just holding it right here, you can see the end of the orange and the end of the reverse light. So now once it's in place, everything will be lined up properly. See it right there. So the next thing that we need to do, I'm going to go ahead and do the other side. Once that's done, we'll be back because, as I mentioned before, I'm going to try to salvage a little piece of this so that way we can at least get that corner back in there where that mounts into. If not, it's not the end of the world because it mounts right here, so I'm not too worried about that. It's not that important. But I was thinking about perhaps doing that. I don't know, maybe not. But then after that, what we need to do is just widen these so that way they fall into right places, and then we'll be able to put the lenses back over it and try the different lights and see how they line up and then wrap this up. So let's do the other side and then we'll be back. This side's done too. Let me see how it's looking. We put this up to it. Let's put this back in. Line it up. So you've got this here. Bring that down. Perfect. Lining up perfect. This side, this side. So we are good. But I was thinking a little bit more. I don't think I'm going to try to refit these pieces in here because this is secure. Because you have these two spots here which line up on the back of the light fixture. So once those are screwed in, that's not moving. That's in place. So that's just not really worth the time and effort to put those back in. So next thing I'm going to do, we're going to cut these, widen them to where they need to be. Go ahead and epoxy them with the spacers in there. Get them back in, and that'll wrap this up. I went ahead and started modifying this. So I cut the actual bulb housing and spaced it out accordingly. This one here, I'm not going to take it all the way to the end because when I tested it, it was too far over and I'd have to widen this. And to be honest, moving it over just a little bit, at least it's centered, it's good enough. Same with this one. This one was too small, so what I did here, as you can see here, if I get closer, I cut that sidewall, bent it, and then chemically welded it here. It's drying right now. Then I'm going to add a piece in here to seal it. And then I'm going to add a piece in here, spacing that out, and then we're going to go ahead and spray everything with a metallic silver. And if we come here to the other side, we're looking at the same thing here on this side too. You can see that's drying there. Same thing here. So I'm going to go ahead and let those dry, then we'll add those pieces in, and then we'll be back after I spray it to put them in, test it, and wrap this up. Everything has been completed. I went ahead and put a piece of polycarbonate here filling in this gap where I went ahead and spread this out. And then I kind of rebuilt this reverse light section because we kind of doubled it in the width. So I had to kind of rebuild it. But let me get a close-up. I'll show you what I did. And then we're going to go ahead and spray it with like a reflective kind of silverish aluminum color so that way it reflects better. Let that dry and then wrap this up. Right here is our turn signal, and I went ahead and kind of added an inch to center it so that way the amber lens falls right there. That's right in the middle, so it's a perfect spacing. And then I went ahead and just used some JB Weld bonding compound here to add that piece in. So we're going to go ahead and spray that silver just to kind of get it to match. Here we have, this is the brake light here in the middle. Didn't really do anything with that. The lens kind of hits right, I think, right about here. So it's about 90 to 95% centered. It wasn't enough for me to, feel justified to go hacking that thing up. So we left that the way it is. This one here, this is the reverse light right here. And normally it was cut right there. So we almost doubled the width, added a piece here. I'll see if I can get it on more of an angle. There you go, so you can see it better. So kind of made it so when the light's here, it's shooting out on an angle. And then we went ahead and framed it in top and bottom to kind of hold that reflection in there. And that lines up perfect. I'm going to go ahead and put the lens up to it so you can see how they line up. And then we're going to go ahead and spray these, let them dry, put the bulbs back in, put the main lens with the amber and everything back over it, and then hop in the vehicle. And then I'll show you how everything looks and wrap this up. That is where it lines up. So you've got it right about here. So if we slide it straight down, you can see now how everything is lining up right here. This one here, right in the middle. This one, you can see slightly off, nothing major. And then here on the reverse light, landing right in the middle. So that'll look really good. So I'm going to go ahead and spray these, and then we'll be back to take a look at it. And then fire up the bulbs, put this permanently on there, and then check it out. Just finished painting these. You can see that little separating piece right there is now silver. That lens is all painted now to be the reflective silver. And down on this end, you can see the same thing right there. So I'm going to go ahead and let these dry. And then we'll go ahead and pop the lenses on, see how everything lines up. I went ahead and put the lenses back on here and here on this side. So now what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and get in the vehicle. We'll test it out, make sure that everything is lining up properly the way it needs to for the reverse, the brake, and the turn signals. And then that'll wrap this up. And as mentioned already, just ignore these screws. These are just temporary ones just to hold it in place. Once the car's been painted, these actual lens pieces are going to be cleaned up a little bit more, smoothed better, shaped a little bit better, and then there will also be a black weather strip seal going behind that. So when these are in place, it'll be moisture tight so water can't get in there to the lights. So just ignore that. I'm going to go ahead and get in there, and we'll take a look and see how everything lines up. All right, let's test these. So here's left turn signal. You can see it's lining up right in the center of the lens. Here's right. Perfect. Here's our hazard lights. Looks good. Okay, here's brake lights. Nice, lining up nice and centered as well. Let's try the reverse backup lights. Beautiful. And if you remember, those are the ones that were way off because they were too far to the right and they were also half the size. So now they're centering nicely, nice squares, just like on the amber and the brake. All right, well, everything looks good. So that wraps up this time in the garage working on the Countach project. The main goal was just getting the adjustments made and the modifications in the body to get the correct width for those rear lights. So the next time in the garage, we're going to be focusing on the front, widening the front marker lights and adjusting them accordingly. Got to do a little bit of body work on that. That'll take care of that. Then we'll be going over the whole body, touching up any imperfections that we see now that we've primed it, touching those up, hitting those with a little bit of a primer sealer. And then after that, we're doing the light sanding and getting it ready for paint. And that'll be exciting to see this thing all painted instead of with all the, I got these marker lines I'm doing on there for some of the detailing. And then, of course, we got the different colors with different primer, all that stuff. It'll be good to see it all painted and clear coated as we get ready to then just wrap up a few other things before we get it on the road. So I hope this video was enjoyable for you. Please send me any questions, any comments. As always, I appreciate all the support. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you next time.